morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's Wacky and Weird Wednesday. We have some weird stories about all sorts of things that's going on all over the globe. And of course, some culture news about some weird things happening in film and television. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes started. We've just got caffeine in our bodies and we're learning to read live on stream. Let's get into these weird headlines. Today on Wacky and Weird Wednesday. Researchers crack 6,000-year riddle of Armenia's dragon stones at Mount Arat.
Good morning from the United States. Welcome to the world's only international game show. And we have the story, why is floating seaweed taking over the entire oceans? Researchers have the answer.
520 million year old miracle fossil found with brain and guts intact.
And science has a sense of humor. The funniest scientific studies take prizes at the Ignobels. And we're going to talk about musician Gary Newman and his flying prowess.
In my culture news, horror film digitally altered in China to make a gay couple straight.
Whoa. And it's National Punctuation Day! Exclamation point. Do you know what that means? Question mark. It is September 24th, 2025, period. Before coffee! Exclamation point.
Are you excited for a new day of news? Question mark. As we usually don't use punctuation on this show. We just keep talking like an unending avalanche of words, really.
Right. Let's get a pen. I know I'm going to have to write something.
Was that a pun already? Right. As in writing and also correct?
No, I don't know. You haven't spun the wheel, or at least I don't know what the wheel says.
It's mixed metaphor.
Sure.
Our first story is coming from Armenia. And I'm sure these shit stones are, this article's probably going to be full of a bunch of, anthropologists saying, wow, they're so mystical back then. And it's like, no, they're probably just human beings like the rest of us. This is on the Jerusalem Post.
Right.
By Jerusalem Post staff. The entire staff wrote this article. Radiocarbon dating of 46 organic samples from Chronicles shows two V-ships were set up circa 4200 4000 BC. 4,200 BC, 4,000 BC, during the Chalcolithic period. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that word stands for, but Chalcolithic.
It's right between fourth and fifth period. It's on your class schedule between fourth and fifth.
Copper Age. Yeah. It's the Copper Age.
The Copper Age. All right.
Copper.
We learned it.
Preceded the Neolithic, which is the Bronze Age. We're still using copper back then. A study in heritage
good old
science.
Days.
Yeah, the good old days of very meldable metals. Meldable, very bendy. A study in heritage science presents what the authors call first comprehensive statistical analysis of 115 Vishapkars is what I'm going to call them. Vishapkars, or dragon stones, classifying them by size and find spot altitude. Prehistoric communities of the Armenian highlands wanted to invest, spending enormous energy and resources on an apparently non-utilitarian project Yeah, humans never do that. We never build giant statues for no reason. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Putting this kind of mythology on, prehistoric humans, like they have a reason for everything, or maybe just like us, they have no reasons for anything.
Were superstitious. They were superstitious like us.
Exactly.
It's like, okay.
I'm sure if we all pass away, the next people who take over the planet will be like, humans built this giant statue to a lady with a crown. What does it mean? Oh, mysterious. The sample covered sites from 1,000 meters to nearly 3,000 meters level. The team began with a simple premise: the amount of labor needed to create a dragon stone, excavation to carving, polishing, and transportation is proportional to its size. They expected smaller monuments at higher elevations, as any coast reported. Above 2,000 meters, no free period is limited, making a construction project much more difficult. The data overturned that assumption. Ooh! They assumed they brought rocks from closer locations so that they could not have to travel so far, right? It's winter, it's cold, and you don't want to take a 3-ton rock up the mountain when you 1-ton rock up the mountain. Bishap means dragon in Armenian. Newsham reported that carved blocks, usually 1.1 meters to 5.5 meters tall, now often lie overturned, as if fallen over. Scholars classify them as fish-shaped stones, vela stones that resemble stretched sides, or hybrids combining both images. Every side except one tail was polished, a detail that clearly indicates that they originally were erected vertically, the report says. Yeah, and some of them weren't on their sides. Fish shapes have been recorded across highland pastures of Armenia and neighboring regions at elevations comparable to the Alpine passes. Recent excavation focused on Trinkatar, or Amir Sar, on the slopes of Mount Ararat, where 12 stones stand near one another. Radiocarbon tests on 46 organic samples from secure layers at the Trinkatar returned dates around 4,200 to 4,000 BCE, placing at least 2 monuments in the late 5th millennium. No trend was observed indicating a decrease in the number of Lodvishops with an increase in altitude. As in, the higher you got, the smaller they got. That wasn't changed. They were always the same size. Or similar size, right? This 1.1 to 3 kilometer size. My page just
What size?
It reveals that over 6,000 years ago, the communities of Armenia highlands wanted to invest in the labor-intensive undertaking noted in the laboratory report. The Vishaps were The Kakkarop 3 and 4.3 ton blocks standing beyond 2,800 meters, an example, way too high, but also heavy, that their original hypothesis was. The author argued that builders aimed for high ground because the people's natural drive to erect the monuments at a higher point may be connected to the worship of water, life-giving valleys. A lot of water is from those melting glacial caps on top of mountains. That they did so despite the logistical difficulties, such as providing food and resources for workers. I think it's fair to maybe assume a little bit, which is what maybe the archaeologists are going here, is that, maybe ancient humans didn't understand how glacial forming works, evaporation, and how the water come out of the mountain. Maybe they thought it was a spring of water, and they created some sort of, hey, here's the water, here's the spring. The Vishaps were cult monuments dedicated to water, stated the statistical report. Their placement near peaks with snow reserves was seen as a deliberate, as in if we put something to dragon, water dragon, please continue providing water for the valley. We made you a nice stone monument. Look how dedicated we are for you. And they probably maybe left.
Maybe it's just a marker.
Exactly. Maybe it could be just
maybe
it's over here,
they had
guys.
hundreds of these, and this is just a marker.
Yeah.
So I can find it.
Oh yeah, you need to check to make sure that the mountain is still giving us water.
Maybe it was there to check the water level. Yeah, I'm just. Jeez, I mean,
Meltwater.
We're superstitious, so they had to be too, right?
Yeah. Meltwater gives life to the valleys, especially during hot and dry summer months. The stones set near those sources served both symbolic and practical ends. Here's the practical bit. The twin concentration of monuments, roughly 1,900 meters, 2,700 meters, was interpreted as evidence of sea migration, ritual pilgrim routes, the sources of life at these heights. Yeah, definitely possible they were just going up there to say, hey, is there still water? There is. Okay, guys, the water's still coming out of the mountain. We'll be safe this summer from dehydration, and, you know, our farms aren't going to go dry. But then if they go up there and they're like, there's no water up here, we're not.
Maybe those rocks had little
harvest is going to be bad this year. The mountain's not delivering any water.
Maybe those rocks had little. Right. Maybe the rocks had little tick marks on them that washed away, you know, eons ago. Yeah, I'm never going to find them.
Erosion.
The water came up to here. The water came up to here. And they're rocks. How big are the rocks, right? They could be buried under the earth.
I just said they are, what did I say? What did I say? How big are they? They're 1 meter to 5.5 meters tall, which is about 5 yards.
Yeah. That's,
you know.
How much of it's in the ground, though? Right? Are they all buried?
Field. It's just a big stone. Yeah, just think of a big stone that's been carved into like a cylindrical shape, and as they found, transported up there because the stone doesn't come from the mountain; it comes from somewhere else. Transported up there, and then
it could only be there for a religion.
There's usually a collection of them.
Yeah,
there's like 12 of them. I mean, that's probably why they think it's religious, because there's 12 stones. If you technically only need one stone, but they have 12 stones next to each other, not like in a line, right, where you're like, oh, next stone, all these stones in the mountain. Like, actually, they're just all right next to each other, 12 stones in some sort of formation. And maybe the original stones, they don't know maybe they'll say in the story, but what the original like, or shaped like a fish, you know, like, I think that's what they're saying, actually, that some of them may have been shaped like a fish all together. They make a fish from like the.
Oh, they could have been.
You're looking down on them.
Yeah, erosion from water for sure would have rounded them off.
Well, they specifically noticed that they have been smoothed down. You know, like
by
actually
water,
buffed.
Probably. Yeah, erosion over centuries, of course.
No, they were. I think they're saying like it was human made. Like I don't have the study on my open. But they're saying that it was human. They've determined that human polishing occurred. Somebody actually polished this. There was maybe some copper tools to buff it up. I don't know.
It was obviously Noah's Ark, right? That's what it had to be. Let's add another fable to it.
They put them there despite the logistical difficulties of, moving 3-ton blocks up a mountain. And also feeding and providing resources for the workers to get those up. Field work that began in 2012 joined the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography of the National Academy of Sciences of Armenia with the Free University of Berlin and Ca' Foscari's University of Venice. Landscape surveys, stratigraphic observations, the new statistical package sought to clarify function and the socio-economic background of the Vishep phenomenon. One of the first scholars to study the stones, Ash Karabek Kalantar, suggested the early 20th century that bishops might mark proof points of irrigation. So they did start out with this practical idea. Kalantar also linked the monuments to wider megalithic traditions and left a research agenda that went largely untouched for decades. Later communities reused several stones. The Gardner 1 bishop bears a wedge-shaped inscription from King Argish I of Urartu in the 8th century BCE, confirming at least one episode of repurposing. Although researchers acknowledged later reinterpretations, they insisted that the original intent centered on water and fertility rites. Stones were not only water, but also conceptualized and sanctified the source of water. Quarried from local andesite and basalt, the monuments demanded substantial labor. Larger vishaps required more human labor. The statistics reiterated. Yet builders ignored easier options. This was not arbitrary. They didn't just say, use that stone over there. They selected specific stones. It is proof that the stone of the deeply rooted belief that mobilized an entire community to reach the highest peaks, disregarding the logic of energy conservation, established the internal symbols of faith at the points from where life springs. Included. So that's what their argument is. You can agree or disagree with. The argument is, if they just wanted to mark it, they could have marked it with any damn stone nearby. They could have quarried it from the mountain itself, right? Oh, over there looks like a good boulder. Put this boulder here. Etch something in it with your copper tools that says, check this was established today, and year 1 of this providing water. The end, right? That would be a more practical, easier use. Because I think there's one true thing about animals, and animals do not like overusing energy. Doesn't matter if you're human or a cheetah, right? You're not going to willy-nilly, right, move a 4-ton andesite basalt stone up a mountain.
Willie would need some help. More help than Millie would provide, for sure.
So that's what they determined. They determined they definitely were having some sort of water right, or creating some sort of altar for the water to say, hey,
we gotta
keep on delivering the water.
Modern terms.
It's definitely been recorded that people had altars and would provide food. Here's some of our harvest. Please continue bringing us water. It's a thing that's been recorded through human history.
Sure.
A metaphor, please.
Mixed metaphor. The fossils are like old fables where all the stories are run through our own human modern superstitions, because we keep insisting. First, was there glaciers in that area? You're saying there was glaciers, right? So the glaciers themselves.
Everything about the
if you got melting
Copper
ice.
Age. I don't know anything about the Copper Age, but if it was around 6,000 years ago, I think the Ice Age was 5,000 years. I thought 15,000.
Well, there's many ice ages. Many ice ages. Yeah, there was a recent ice age.
I think for the history of humanity, mountains have had glacial caps. That's how nature works.
Right, but glaciers have always existed, and glaciers have always moved rocks around. So if they're saying that these rocks came from somewhere else, I don't know. I mean, the glacier could have brought it back as it was retreating and dropped it there. That's all. As the glaciers melt, they drop rocks everywhere.
Quarried, and they found the quarry location. They actually traced the stone and said this stone comes literally from this quarry we found, this ancient 6,000-year-old quarry we found.
I just find it funny that we cannot grasp that there was knowledge that existed before we discovered stuff, right? There was actually knowledge that is lost for thousands of years that we don't know about, right? And ancient people did know about it, and they didn't write it down or whatever. But we actually think that, it had to be superstition. It seems a little skewed towards our own predisposition towards believing in, invisible men. There's no proof that they believed in invisible men. They probably worshipped the sun.
It was just saying, they're just saying it was an altar to water. Because why would you put 12 stones?
They worship the stone in the water.
Right?
There you go. Yeah.
Why 12 stones when you could just use one? That's all they're saying.
Right. Yeah, they could have worshipped the water. That's fine. But to imply that, they're just as superstitious as we are, are more superstitious. That's another thing they do. They go, they're obviously more superstitious than they have science. We have science now, and there's plenty of superstitious people. So I don't think science is even a thing.
I'm sure there's people who have that opinion.
That's my metaphor. Is like, why do we keep imposing our belief systems on these people? Okay, my story, I guess.
Yeah, so roll my segue wheel here.
We get rid of the glare. You're right about the interruptions. I tried not to interrupt, but
you can interrupt. That's totally fine.
It's science.
I'd rather talk about the article than you misunderstand it. Tell a joke.
Tell a joke. Why? Okay, I got a joke about seaweed. This is from ScienceDaily.com. Why is floating seaweed taking over the entire ocean? That's a bit of a hyperbole. Well, but let's see. Researchers have the answer. The entire ocean, you say? Sargassum is what it's called. Sargassum.
Sargassum.
Expansion across Sargassum.
It's spelled like that. So.
It's not really spelled the same. It just sounds like it's sorta. Gassum.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't cross-reference to any other words. Sargassum expansion across the Atlantic is tied to nutrient pollution and ocean circulation as the growth now affects ecosystems and coastal communities. Researchers at Florida Atlantic University's Harbor Beach Oceanographic Institute have compiled a comprehensive review covering 40 years of data on pelagic sargassum, the free-floating brown algae that plays a crucial role in the Atlantic Ocean. For decades, scientists believe sargassum was largely restricted to the nutrient-poor waters of the Sargasso Sea. It is now clear that this seaweed has become widespread and fast-growing presence across the Atlantic, with its expansion tied to both natural variability and human-driven nutrient inputs. Published in a Journal of Harmful Algae, the review examines the emergence and persistence of the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt, an enormous seasonal bloom that spans from West Africa to the Gulf of Mexico. That is really big. Since first being observed in 2011, this belt has formed nearly every year except 13, and in May reached a record biomass of 37.5 million tons. This figure excludes the long-term background biomass of 7.3 million tons typically found in the Sargasso Sea. Yeah, that would make it 44 million tons. The analysis integrates historical oceanographic records, modern satellite data, detailed biogeochemical studies to better explain shifts in sargassum abundance, distribution, and nutrient balance. These findings emphasize the influence of a human-driven nutrient loading on ocean processes and urgent need for international collaboration to track and mitigate the impacts of these vast seaweed blooms. Our review takes a deep dive into the changing story of sargassum, how it's growing and what's fueling that growth, and why we are seeing such a dramatic increase in biomass across the North Atlantic, said Brian Lapointe, PhD, lead author and research professor at FAU, Florida Atlantic University, Harbor Branch. By examining shifts in its nutrient composition, particularly nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon, and how these elements vary over time and space, we are beginning to understand the larger environmental forces at play. They're beginning to understand. Oh boy.
This is
at the start of the review, Brian Lapointe, we're just starting. We claim ignorance, so you can't hold us to anything. Ha. Don't blame us, we don't know anything. There you go. That's the way you start a study. At the start of the review, Brian Lapointe and his colleagues Deanna F. Weber, research coordinator Rachel Brunton, PhD, assistant research professor at FAU Harbor Branch, noted that early oceanographers mapped this Sargasso Sea by tracking surface patches of sargassum. They assumed the seaweed flourished in warm, clear, yet nutrient-poor waters. The idea later presented a paradox, as mid-20th century researchers went on to describe the same region as a biological desert. Well, that's kind of the opposite, isn't it? However, since satellite observations, ocean circulation models, and field studies have resolved this paradox by tracing the seasonal transport of sargassum from nutrient-rich coastal areas, particularly the western Gulf of America, to the open ocean via the loop current in the Gulf Stream. These findings support early theories by explorers who proposed that the Gulf originating sargassum could feed populations in the Sargasso Sea. Remote sensing technology played a pivotal role in discoveries. In 2004 and 2005, satellites captured extensive sargassum windrows, which are long, narrow lines of bands or floating sargassum in the western Gulf of oh my God, they called it the Gulf of America. Way to just send your scientific credibility right down the shitter. It's called the Gulf of Mexico, not the Gulf of America. A region experiencing increased nutrient loads from the river systems in Mississippi and the Atchafalaya. It's not called the Gulf of America.
Because that's what
assholes that cite that. You assholes at SciTech Daily need to stop fucking changing names of shit just because Trump told you to. Yeah, it pisses me off. Gulf of America. There's no Gulf of America, by the way. It doesn't exist. These nutrient-rich waters fueled high biomass events along the Gulf Coast, resulting in mass strandings, costly beach cleanups, and even the emergency shutdown of Florida nuclear power plant in 1991. I didn't know about that. LaPointe said, a major focus of our review is the elemental composition of sargassum tissue and how it has changed over time. Laboratory experiments and field research dating back to the 1980s confirmed that the sargassum grows more quickly and is more productive in nutrient-rich neritic waters than in the oligotropic waters of the open ocean. In other words, it grows more in the Gulf because of it's not the competing currents or whatever. In the temperature, probably. Controlled studies revealed that two primary species, Sargassum natans and Sargassum flutans, can double their biomass in just under 11 days. These studies also established that phosphorus is often the primary limiting nutrient for growth, although nitrogen plays a critical role. For the 1980s to 2020s, the nitrogen content of sargassum has increased more than 50%, while phosphorus content decreased slightly, leading to a sharp rise in nitrogen to phosphorus ratio, the NP ratio. These changes reflect a shift away from natural oceanic nutrient sources and upwelling and vertical mixing, and toward the land-based inputs such as agriculture runoff, wastewater discharge, and atmospheric disposition. Carbon levels in sargassum also rose, contributing to changes in overall stoichiometry, that's a word, and further highlighting the impact of external nutrient loading on marine producers. So anyway, there's the basically the long story. Sometimes these stories are longer than they say they are, and sometimes they're way shorter. This one seems a little bit longer than they promised. So I'm cutting it off. I'm cutting it off at that because there wasn't no more information.
And they've also pissed you off.
Let's have a joke.
Sounds like.
Well, I'm just saying, Gulf of America, come on. And it's buried in the article. Like, nobody's going to notice it. There is no Gulf of America. Stop pretending there is. Just because some idiot told them to change it on the maps doesn't mean it's that. That's the truth. Nobody's calling it that. Not anybody with a brain. Release the Epstein files.
So, what kind of math do fish like?
Icky math? I don't know.
Algebra.
Oh, we got a growing algebra. Fish experts are
two algae never had sex? Because they had a planktonic relationship.
Photoplankton.
Yeah, there's a lot of algebra jokes, but there you go. Algebra.
Yay, sea life. There's lots of sea puns you can come up with too, I suppose.
So, let's go to our next segue.
Next story. I only had one, and that one was way longer and pissed me off in the middle. So it didn't really piss me off. It's like, why are you calling it the Gulf, and then you call it the Gulf of America? I'm sorry.
You chose a side. They chose a side. Accurate metaphor or simile. More metaphors.
Didn't I just do a metaphor?
No, you did mixed. It was supposed to be mixed.
Oh, that's right. It's mixed. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Accurate. Accurate. That's a tough one.
This next one is about finding a 520 million-year-old fossil with its organic
fossil
brain
day.
And guts still
fossil
there.
Day.
You know, because usually that's eaten by bugs or worms or all sorts of things. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Until you just got the bones left. That's not what happened here. This is by Eric Rawls on Earth.com. Animal life took off quickly during the Cambrian period, and every so often a tiny fossil discovery reminds us how quickly complexity took shape. A newly described fossil of an arthropod named Yuti Yunshi was found preserved with soft tissue intact after roughly 520 years. A recent analysis of this early life form offers an unusually clear look at the insides of one of the earliest insects, crabs, spiders, and their kin. It is small, ancient, and surprisingly well organized eternally. The fossil captures anatomy in 3 dimensions rather than as a flattened sphere. Researchers used powerful X-ray imaging to virtually examine the body and map structures that usually vanish at death. This preservation gives scientists a way to trace how early animal bodies and plants came together. So, why is our heart up here instead of in our stomach? And why is our stomach there? Why do we have 2 kidneys? All of this stuff was organized by our predecessors, or at least in a way our predecessors. I don't know how long Cambrian period. I believe this was one of the Cambrian explosion where just life sprouted and there was so much life from all
the Cambrian period. That was between 6th and 7th period.
And a recent analysis. Oh, sorry.
We keep making that joke.
Researchers used the powerful X-ray imaging virtually to examine the body. The fossils came from Yunnan, China, a region known for Cambrian rocks that often capture delicate details. The team named the larva Yuanxi in a nod to its juvenile stage and its role in understanding early arthropods. When it was alive 520 million years ago, animal groups were branching out into diverse lifestyles. UT measures about 1.5 inches or 3.8 millimeters long. The body is divided into 20 segments, each carrying a pair of soft legs known as lobopods. These limbs lack hard joints, reflecting an early stage in the lineage that would later give rise to jointed exoskeleton-covered limbs of modern arthropods like crabs and spiders. Right? They have joints. You can see them. That's where you break off the crab leg when you're a crab. Joint. Here, 3-dimensional depth is preserved, letting researchers separate and identify organs that occupied different layers of the body. When I used to daydream about the one fossil I'd like to discover, I'd always be thinking of an arthropod larva, because the developmental data are just so central to understanding that. How did this thing become this crazy? Said Dr. Martin Smith of Durham University. Boundaries between membranes, cavities, and remain visible, like a miniature anatomical map from time. The clarity matters because it allows scientists to match positions and connections of organs, then compare these patterns with living arthropods and their close relatives. When structures line up in across a species, they mark shared features that date back to common ancestors. The head layout is advanced for a larval stage. Mouth sits on the underside. So, down here, the circummoral around the mouth nerve ring encircles it. Distinct brain regions lie just behind it. This arrangement creates a clear landmark, a ring of nerves that controls sensing, and a brain compartments that echo the basic architecture of arthropod. When positions and connections match, researchers can trace how features shifted or specialized over evolutionary time without losing track of their identity. A central digestive tract runs along the middle of the body. Along its sides, paired midgut glands help process food by increasing the surface area of digestion. Circulation shows order as well. Arthropods do not have red blood like humans. Their fluid, called hemolymph, moves through open spaces and channels, so their whole body just liquid, no veins. In Yuanxi, a broad pericardial sinus sits to the top of the body, consistent with heart-related structure, while additional sinuses run on the sides and the underside, forming loops which reach the mouth region and into the layout point a patterned system for routing fluid tissues that needed earlier in the group's history than many expected. They were already making sure your limbs were getting. I say you. I don't think we're related to arthropods even a little bit, but it's still interesting. And after scanning it, they decided to dissect UT, and they found that the gut shows a consistent relationship to nearby membranes and limb-based slices. When all the clues align, the interpretation is supported. It's always interesting to see what's inside a sample using 3D imaging. But in this incredible tiny lava, natural fossilization has achieved perfect preservation, noted co-study author Dr. Catherine Dobson of the University of Strathclyde. This approach is more than a technical advance. It turns a tiny fossil into a testable set of anatomical how the body was arranged. So, why does this ancient larva even matter? The idea fits a broader Cambrian story. Evolution did not add complexity in one such step. Yeah, we didn't suddenly have organs in a bag. The organs were already being put in a bag long before 500 million years ago. It layered new functions in a segmented framework, then hardened exteriors, added joints, and enhanced senses and refined head parts. Larvae are so tiny and fragile, the chance of finding one fossilized are practically zero, so I thought, the doctor said. I already knew that this sample worm-like fossil was something special, but when I saw the amazing structures preserved under its skin, my jaw just dropped. How could these intricate features have avoided decay and still be here to see 500 million years later? A combination of modularity and early specialization set the stage for diversity of adult science. These methods apply beyond the single. With three-dimensional preservation and non-destructive imaging, researchers now test how early body systems arrange, compare them to living forms, and link fossil snapshots to modern anatomy. Early arthropods did not wait to get organized. Even at the tiny size, a juvenile state. Tuti Wanshi shows a coordinated head, a mapped-out gut, and paired glands, and structural circulatory network. Those features appear alongside the classically segmented trunk and limbs. From that small start, the lineage had what it needed to expand across ocean, land, and air, experimenting with body part plans for hundreds of. There is your, conclusion on this study, which you can find the full study in the journal Nature, about this wacky little larva that survived 500 million years in a fossil. Show us
520 million years.
The history
it's a
of
long time.
The arthropod. Yeah, it's a long. I can't even think of how long that is. It's a number that goes beyond comprehension.
It's about half of the time going back to where the Earth cooled, right? It's like 1 billion years ago the Earth cooled, or 2 billion, or whatever it was.
Yeah. All
right. So just a metaphor.
Nightmare back then.
Finding the internal organs of a fossil is like finding a road map inside of a mummy's tomb in Egypt, right? Hey, that's my metaphor.
Treasure marked here.
Yeah, like, hey, wow, look at and it's in English.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Crazy.
Wait a minute, that seems a little anachronistic. Anyway.
That would be very crazy. How did they know?
That's how unbelievable it was. Something that would survive. I mean, fossils, tree fossils survive, right? But they're usually hard as a rock, All
right, alliteration headline. Hi. Okay.
Yes, so we're going to do two shorter stories. This first one is called this is from apnews.com, Michael Casey. It's about the Ignobels, and it's a take on the Nobel Prizes, of course. And the headline says, some of the oddest, funniest, and scientific studies take prizes at the Ignobels. Michael Casey, a team of researchers from Japan wondering if painting cows with zebra-like stripes would prevent flies from biting them. Another group from Africa and Europe pondered the types of pizza lizards prefer to eat. These researchers were honored Thursday in Boston with the Ignobel, the prize, a handmade model of a human stomach, for comical scientific achievement. In lieu of a big paycheck, each winner also was given a single hand wipe. God, the humor just breaking out all over. One single hand wipe.
At least they're clean, I guess, for the time being.
Get out of here. Wash your hands and get out of here. When I did this experiment, I just hoped it would win the Ig Nobel. It's my dream. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable, said Tomika Kojima, whose team put tape on Japanese beef cows and then spray painted them with white stripes. Not the band. Kojima appeared on stage in stripes and was surrounded by his fellow researchers who harassed with cardboard flies. Cardboard flies? Paper
smelly.
airplanes, that's right.
I think.
As a result of the paint job, Yeah, right. As a role as a paint job, fewer flies were attracted to the cows, and they seemed less bothered by the flies. Despite the finding, Kojima admitted it might be a challenge to apply this approach on a large scale. I guess you're painting your cows. This year's it might be quicker. Just a guess. Insecticides quicker. This year's winners, honored in 10 categories, also include a group from Europe that found drinking alcohol sometimes improves a person's ability to speak a foreign language, and a researcher who studied fingernail growth for decades.
Every year, I'm going to have to become an alcoholic.
I definitely can speak French now. S'il vous plaît, motherfucker. Each great discovery ever, at first glance, seems screwy and laughable. Mark Abrahams, master of the ceremonies and editor of the magazine, said in an email interview, "The same is true of every worthless discovery. The Ignobel prizes celebrate all these discoveries because the very first glance, who really knows?" And we have a bunch of picture captions we can skip through. The 35th Ignobel Prize, 35th Ignobel Prize ceremony is organized by the Annals of Improbable Research, a digital magazine that highlights research that makes people laugh and then think. It usually is held weeks before the actual Nobel Prizes are announced. The ceremony to celebrate winners Thursday night, last Thursday, at Boston University began with a long-time tradition, the audience pelting the stage with paper airplanes. Several of those who couldn't attend their speeches read by actual Nobel laureates, that's kind of funny, including Esther Duflo, who won the Nobel Prize for experimental approach to alleviating global poverty. There was also a mini opera about gastroenterologists and their patients, inspired by this year's theme, which is digestion. Several people sang about the challenges of treating stomach bugs and being feted by patients who bring peaches and chili dogs. There was also a section called the 24-second lecture, where top researchers explain their work in 24 seconds. Among them was Gus Rancourt, who spent most of his time licking an ice cream cone and repeatedly saying, "Yum." And Tricia Parashika, who explained her work studying smartphone use on the toilet and the potential risk for hemorrhoids. When any winner appeared to be rambling too long, a man wearing a dress over his suit would appear on the stage and repeatedly yell, "Please stop, I'm bored." Other winners this year included a group from India that studied whether... Yeah, you should do that when I'm going too long. Well, anyway, there's the ending of this story. Among most animated of winners is a team of researchers several European countries who studied physics of pasta sauce. One of the researchers wore a cook's outfit with a fake mustache to accept the award, while another dressed as a big ball of mozzarella cheese got pummeled by several people holding wooden cookware. This ended by handing out bowls of pasta to the Nobel laureates. Okay, so there's your fun little Ig Nobel Prize. Let's have a segue for that, and we're going to go into our last story.
Unorthodox option unveiled, offering outlandish answers, absurdly arcane ailments. Added to a switch up there.
He just went with vowels, did you?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he said, I was trying to get anal. What is annals? The annals of improbability or whatever. I was trying to get that in there, but I couldn't.
Oh.
Did you say anals? Did you say anals?
Anals. The annals, not the anals.
All right, your next story.
Another story. You can throw a headline on this one. VintageAviationNews.com. Our Friends Airplanes, which is a take on a Gary Newman song called Our Friends Electric, which you may not have heard. Musician Gary Newman's fascinating aviation career. His guest author is the guy's name. Oh no, it's Catherine Hamilton. Her name is not guest author. Anyway, when people think of 1980s musicians, names like Tears for Fears, Devo, and a host of MTV area hit wonders may come to mind, but among them, Gary Newman carved out a unique place in pop culture. Not only is a pioneer of synth-driven music, he was a Mr. Synth, but also a passionate aviator. His career is notable for its hits as it is for his adventurous forays in aviation. That's right. Did not know this about him, so this is news to me. Newman began his career in 1977 with the band Two Boy Army, producing such hits as Down in the Park and Our Friends Electric. The group's sound was steeped in eccentric, futuristic Since, while Newman himself adopted the androgynous robotic stage persona. After a band disbanded in 1979, Newman embarked on a solo career, releasing the global hit Cars, which cemented his status as a groundbreaking figure in electronic music. Yet even as his musical career flourished, another lifelong passion began weaving its way into his story, aviation. Raised near an airport, Newman developed a fascination with airplanes at age 4, often watching takeoffs with his father in 1980s. Period. It's punctuation day after all. In the 1980s, as his music gained traction, he earned his pilot's license. Starting with Cessnas and Piper Navajos, he eventually moved into the advanced aircraft and even joined the Harvard demonstration team at Duxford. Despite his skills, Newman's time as a pilot was not without turbulence. A series of accidents caused only by pilot error but mechanical failures attracted meaty scrutiny. One of the most publicized incidents occurred in January of '82 when Newman's Cessna 210 Centurion crash landed on the A3501 in Southampton. A3501 is a highway. After electrical malfunctions falsely indicated a fuel shortage, the aircraft sustained severe damage and was declared beyond repair. Although Newman was only a passenger at the time, local press incorrectly reported him as the pilot, fueling controversy about his aviation pursuits. A year earlier, in '81, Newman and fellow pilot Bob Thornton attempted a round-the-world flight in the same Cessna. Engine trouble forced him to land in Visakhapatnam, India, because they couldn't find a town with a shorter name, I guess, where their arrival aroused suspicion from local customs officials. Carrying cameras and flight gear, they were briefly arrested on suspicion of espionage and smuggling before cleared of all charges 4 days later. By late 1980s, Newman's financial struggles from touring led him to step back from music and devote more of his time to flying. He purchased a Harvard G-AZSC, a World War II trainer that had seen service with the RAF before passing through private owners across Europe. In 1984, he repainted the aircraft in a Japanese Zero scheme, complete with his name stenciled on the cockpit. With his friend Norman Lees, he flew as part of the radial pair display team, which later grew to include 5 Harvards. In 1996, Newman restored the aircraft to authentic wartime RAF colors before relocating it to Duxford. He kept that plane until 2005 when it was sold to Good World Road Racing Company, where it continues to fly today, still flying. Aviation themes resurfaced regularly in Newman's work. Early tracks like Bombers reflected his fascination with aircraft, but others, including Airlane, the Air Crash Bureau, War Games, My Centurion, and Warriors wove aviation imagery into their lyrics and visuals. The Warriors music video featured Newman flying a Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star, and several of his vinyl singles are shaped like aircraft, including one modeled after his Harvard. The singles are shaped like aircraft? How are they going to play on the turntable? They need to be round. They're not going to play. I don't know what that means. Vinyl singles are shaped like aircraft. That defies explanation. I don't even know what that means. Newman may have also had ties with the commemorative Air Force. In the video of We Take Mystery to Bed, he wore a CAF member's cap and photos with him in the CAF attire. While records are incomplete due to archival losses in the 80s and 90s, speculation suggests he may have been loosely connected to CAF's UK Douglas Bader Squadron or maintained informal ties with CAF pilots during the show circuits. His Harvard even appeared alongside the CAF B-24 Diamond Lil at the 1992 Biggin Hill International Airfair. So he was doing air shows, in other words. By late 1990s, Newman left the aviation behind. The deaths of several pilot friends, the financial strain of maintaining warbirds, and concerns from his fiancée, now wife, about the risks of flying led him to focus on family and back to music instead. Now in his mid-60s, Gary Newman remains musically active. His sound was shifted from the synth pop to darker industrial tones, with his daughters occasionally contributing to his work. In 2017, his daughter Persia co-wrote My Name is Ruin, and in 2021, he released Intruder, an album exploring humanity's fractured relationship with nature. In 2025, Newman performed at Glastonbury and released a live album, The Perfect Circle, recording his anniversary show at OVO Arena, Wembley, though Though he no longer flies, Newman's aviation adventures remain an unforgettable chapter in his life, one that blended dreams of pop star with the daring spirit of a pilot. There's your story on Gary Newman. Here in my car, I feel safest of all. Does that remind you of a song? I know that's not what you spun. I'm just kidding.
I hope not. I didn't think of any.
Here in my
reminds
car,
me of Cars by Gary Newman.
Safest of
my alliteration is Gary gracefully goes. I don't know.
Garrulously.
Gary gracefully goes grandly, generating gracious gifts of gratitude.
There you go.
Going.
Gratitude.
Going. Getting. And giving.
Helping
I can't think of
headline.
A plain word with a G.
Gyroscope.
That's not the same
There's
sound, though, is it?
Airplane.
Gyroscope, I guess I could.
Well, starts with a G.
I sent you a different video for the mic drop because I actually want to see him talking about the airplanes song. Check your messages on Facebook. And let's roll the wheel for the next segue. It is... Ooh. Tell me a joke. Yeah, tell me a joke about my culture segment. Features.
A joke.
China using AI, I think, to do digital replacement on a gay couple in a Western film. Okay, they decided to just face swap somebody, I guess, instead of just, I don't know, just don't show the film. I don't know. Just don't show the film. What happened to China just saying that film's banned because it has a gay couple instead of like doing whatever the hell this is? This is coming from Amy Hawkins on The Guardian, senior China correspondent. Viewers are outraged after same-sex wedding scene changed together, starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie. An Australian horror film featuring a scene with a same-sex wedding was reportedly digitally altered for release in China, transforming the gay couple into a heterosexual one, provoking an outrage from viewers who spotted the change. The critically acclaimed film Together, starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie, was released in selected cinemas in China on September 12th. It follows the journey of a young couple who move to the countryside and encounter mysterious and grotesque changes to their bodies. Body horror. I'm not a fan of most horror, but that one is a tough one. In one scene, which features a wedding between two men and one of the men's faces was altered to look like humans. Cinema goers in China only noticed the change when side-by-side screenshots of the scene circulated on social media. AI face swapping is really unacceptable. It completely changes the original creative vision, wrote one on the social media. Films have to be approved by China's censorship authorities to be released on the plan. For imported films, this often leads to scenes featuring themes that the government is sensitive or racy being cut. But the use of technology to alter scenes rather than just cut them is relatively new and a very weird turn of events in censorship. Some viewers complained that it made the censorship harder to spot. What's happening outside the film is even more terrifying. That's what's shown in it, wrote one Weibo user. Homosexuality is criminalized in China, so I don't know why they're censoring it, but it's still widely stigmatized, with nuclear heterosexual relationships promoted as the ideal norm. The government's long-standing stance of neither supporting nor opposing homosexuality has given way in recent years to a crackdown on LGBT+ groups. It's very rare to see same-sex relationships in films or television shows. In 2021, China's television regulator banned sissy men from appearing on screen. Oh yeah, I remember this. So there were some men in China who are just more feminine than others, and they're called sissy men, and China was like, they no longer can be. Say goodbye to your viewership. No one's watching anymore. pick off the most attractive guy probably on the show. But public opinion is increasingly supportive of LGBT identity. A survey published last year found that just over half of people agreed that LGBT people should be accepted by Chinese society. One user on Rednote said that the use of AI to gender swap gay characters was humiliating to minority groups. Together was scheduled for a general release in China on the 19th of September. But after the backlash, the film's Chinese distributor halted those plans without explanation. It is not the first time that Western films have been altered for viewing in China. In 2018, Bohemian Rhapsody was released. Just don't release the film. I know it's not fair to Chinese people, but Chinese people are already using VPNs and shit to get around the censorship. So just don't even. Freddie Mercury's references to Freddie Mercury's sexualities were. The American sitcom Friends references to the lesbian character were cut in episodes that were streamed on Chinese platforms. Together, director Michael Shanks did not immediately respond to. He's probably just like, "Hey, what are you gonna do? They want to sell the film. They're gonna censor it so that they can sell it in China, because China's a big market for selling films." But that's just gross, really. Gross. My stance on this is mostly I just really enjoy whatever the final vision of the director, whatever. I like to see that, and another outside person who's not involved in the making. It tries to change it up. It's not the same film anymore. It really isn't. Even if you think, one small detail of it not being a gay couple doesn't matter. I haven't seen the film, but I have a feeling it does matter. Sadly.
Yep.
We haven't
Probably does, but
I wish we were, but we haven't gotten to that spot where we don't care if people are gay yet. Still not there yet.
And people don't know what context is. People know what context is, and a lot of people don't know what the meaning of the word context, right? I've seen that before when they say I was taken out of context, and I go, "No, it wasn't. It was directly in context." You don't know what context means, do you? Reminds me of a joke. China is so good at censorship that they gave themselves 5 stars. I guess that's a take on their flag. There's 5 stars on their flag. A big one and
I was already laughing, but thank you for explaining the joke.
Not everybody knows. You gotta explain some jokes.
You gotta learn your flags, people.
I'm not explaining for your benefit. I'm explaining for everyone else.
All right, where's my laughing?
Oh, that's funny. Right, this National Day count. Oh, this day in history, I guess we're doing that.
Yes, we are doing this day in history in our
September 24th
mission in order to find somebody who tells us everything that's going on in history, not just about the serial killers that committed crimes.
Did you know on this day in history? Christopher Columbus set sail 1495, I want to say, with another 17 ships to go to the New World. But that's not in Britannica, because they just didn't care. Britannica is going to start us off at 1755 with John Marshall, the 4th Chief Justice of the United States, was born. The principal founder of the U.S. system of constitutional law, including the doctrine of judicial review. So happy birthday to John Marshall, back when the Supreme Court mattered, when it wasn't just a bunch of oligarch cheerleaders. 1869, plummeting gold prices led to a panic known as Black Friday, where U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant, after learning of the attempt by Jay Gould and James Fisk to drive up the gold market, ordered $4 million of government gold to be sold on the market. Hey, there. I did you in there, you idiots, trying to make the gold, trying to corner the market. And then we're going to drive the price down. Why would you corner the market? Because if you want all the gold, everybody's going to pay what you charge. But the government had more gold than everybody, so they foiled that attempt. 1877, Sagio Takamori, a hero of the Meiji Restoration, Meiji, I guess maybe, was killed. after reluctantly leading a rebellion against the Meiji government in had to be Japan. Had to be Japan, right? Takamori, Meiji. I don't know. MEI. Okay, then. Doesn't even say what country.
I wrote my bachelor's thesis on this. Okay. Meiji.
All right, so it was Japan, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because it doesn't say Japan. I'm just guessing by the name it was Japan.
Yeah, you just have to know your history, I guess.
Yeah, I had no reason to study Japanese history in my entire life. 1896, American short story writer and novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald was born, famous for his depictions of the Jazz Age. He wrote The Great Gatsby, in other words. The guy who wrote The Great Gatsby, which is like the biggest book of the 20s. Anyway, happy birthday to F. Scott Fitzgerald. And if you've read all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's books, congratulations, Mr. Jones. That's from a Bob Dylan song. I'm the only one that got that joke. That's from the Bob Dylan song, The Thin Man. You've been through all of F. Scott, Ballad of a Thin Man. You've been through all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's books. You're very well read. It's well known. But something is happening here and you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? So yeah, your name's Mr. Jones if you read all of those books. 1906, Devil's Tower in northeastern Wyoming was named the first national monument in the United States. And there you go. Don't spray paint on it. 1934, Babe Ruth. That's right. The devil will get you. Babe Ruth plays last game for the Yankees on this day at Yankee Stadium. Big deal for somebody, I guess. He didn't quit playing baseball. He just played for the Boston Braves the next season.
Yeah,
1938.
The things Britannica decides is like a noteworthy thing to announce.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like, yeah. So big deal for Yankees fans, I guess. I don't know. Don Budge, in 1938, Don Budge won the U.S. Open, became the first player to win a Grand Slam title in tennis. I think the Grand Slam in tennis is the Australian Open, the French Open, the U.S. Open, and Wimbledon. And they're all different. They're all on different surfaces, I believe, nowadays. Although I think back in those days, everything was on grass. 1960, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the Enterprise, was launched by the United States. The Enterprise, isn't that interesting? It was not named after the ship on the Star Trek because it predated the ship, right? It predated Star Trek, so Star Trek took their name from that ship. Well, that's a hell of a coincidence. In 1968, the primetime American television news show 60 Minutes debuted, created by Tom Hewitt, featuring such reporters as Mike Wallace. It became one of the most successful programs in broadcast history, still on the air. Used to be the greatest show on TV, worth waiting for. But CBS doesn't have a news department anymore. They've acquiesced all of their information to the White House. And it has to be screened by the White House before they report any news now, because CBS has no integrity. 1991, American alternative rock group Nirvana released its breakthrough album, Nevermind. Nevermind. I was going to buy that album, but never mind. Which helped make grunge an international phenomenon and gave voice to Generation X. What? That's some silliness right there.
That is
1993. That's just some silliness right there.
Everyone's
gave voice to
Generation
X. That's just some straight up gibberish. That's just
I don't
flat
think
out
so.
gibberish.
I disagree.
If you know the words to about half of the songs in that album, congratulations, because it's, I'm saying it.
It's not about knowing the entire album. It's about that one song being the depiction of how Gen X felt at that current time.
Yeah, it's like one snapshot. I don't know if it. I don't understand Generation X nonsense.
Speak on it. Ask Sarah how she felt about Nirvana.
She's not Generation X.
Yes, she is.
Somebody born in 1983 is not Generation X. Sorry.
Okay.
1993. Somebody born the year 8 years old when the album was released. I don't think so. They're Generation X. Okay. I think Generation X started it. Maybe I don't even know how this generation shit works, but it seems to me that Kurt Cobain is roughly the same age as me, 5 years younger, right? So That's probably my generation, but to me, I don't think it gave any voice to me whatsoever, or anyone for that matter. I mean,
I'm not saying he specifically
sorry,
went out to give a voice to Gen X. I'm just saying people in Gen X got attracted to his lyrics that he was saying and said, that's just like my life. That's exactly how I feel. That's what I think Britannica's and what people have been saying for years.
Trivializing our entire generation. Way to go. 1993, Norodom Sihanouk was crowned king of Cambodia for the second time. Really? What happened the first time? Lose his crown?
Yeah.
Would you leave it in the car?
I left it in the McDonald's.
Damn it. Somebody got a Happy Meal with a crown with it now. Damn it. 1995, the BBC miniseries Pride and Prejudice. Those two are back together. Starring Colin Firth and Jennifer Eel, debuted on British television, became one of the most acclaimed adaptations of Jane Austen's classic novel.
And
if you wonder what Colin Firth did before he played...
This day in history, I guess, yeah.
You wonder what Colin Firth did before he played the stuttering king in that movie. That's what he did.
King's Speech, yeah.
2015,
and he also famously
according
came
to...
out of a pond soaked wet, and I think that's probably why he got famous.
That's why he stuttered?
No, that's why he got famous, because he was hot and he came out of a pond just soaked wet. Everyone remembers that. Or I should say every straight woman does, I guess. Maybe every gay man might remember it too.
I'll leave you with that one. 2015, according to Saudi officials, 769 people died in a stampede for what? Religion. Oh yeah, religion. 769 people met their maker during a stampede in Hajj to Mecca. However, estimates claim that more than 2,400 were killed, making one of the deadliest incidents in pilgrimage history. Yep. Religion killing more people. Religion killing people ever since it was invented. Religion created to divide people. Religion created by intelligent people to control stupid people. We can just go on all day about what the hell's wrong with religion. 1957 is our featured event. Federal troops sent to Little Rock, Arkansas. Why did Dwight Eisenhower send the 101st Airborne? No, it was the 82nd Airborne. It doesn't even say that in here, but I know it was airborne. It wasn't the National Guard. Why? I'm going to give you a guess. Why Eisenhower sent federal troops to Arkansas?
The racists were getting uppity. Black people don't have rights. You can't do
this. Right. Yeah. The right for a little girl to go to elementary school. That's all it was. Yeah. The 82nd Airborne was called out to escort a little girl to go to school. Isn't that amazing? On this day, 1957, racial desegregation took center stage when federal troops were dispatched to Little Rock, Arkansas to maintain order and enforce the right of black students to attend local public high school. Yep. That's the country we live in. Nothing's really changed. We're still the same. We can pretend all we want. We're still the same. We're still dividing people by shit that don't matter.
Doesn't mean it was 5,000 years ago. It wasn't very long ago.
We're still alive. Yeah, 1950. That woman is still alive, by the way. Yes. That had to be escorted to school. She's in her. Let's see. Would have been high school. She'd probably be in her 80s by now, maybe. She would have been almost 80. She'd be almost 80, probably. Probably 80, right? I was thinking. Ruby Bridges, that's her name. Ruby Bridges. How old is Ruby Bridges?
I think we read an article about her on her birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, when somebody who's still alive to remember this shit, it wasn't that far in the past, okay? Just letting you know. And it hasn't gone away, by the way. We're still doing this stupid shit, acting like there's some hidden meaning behind the color of somebody's skin or their eyes or how many toes they have or some bullshit. Our featured biography is Jim Henson. Since Jim Henson's birthday, born in 1936 in Greenville, Mississippi. So happy 89 to Jim. If he was around, he died out very young at the age of 53. His son is taking over the Kermit nest. So his son is doing the Kermit. I don't know if he's doing all the voices, but Kermit was the main one anyway. He died on May 16th of 90, only 53. It had to be cancer, pretty sure. So probably, I think he was poisoned by the government. I'm going to go with that one. Our other featured biographies, birthdays today, Ayatollah Khomeini, the guy who, deposed the Shah of Iran and took over, made Iran into a religious nightmare. Well, it's his birthday today. He was born in 1902. 1911 is the birthday of President of the Soviet Union, Konstantin Chernenko. Oh, God, he didn't serve for very long. I think he died. I think he was one of them guys that lasted like a month as the president. We did Jim Henson's Joe Green's birthday. If you don't know what Joe Green is, Mean Joe Green, he was called. Famous for a Coca-Cola commercial now, more than anything. He's the one that threw his nasty old sweaty jersey to the little kid who gave him a Coke and the kid said, "Thanks, Mean Joe. Thanks for the sweaty jersey." Yeah. It was a commercial. Kids are easy to please. So there's your birthdays for today. Our national day calendar. It's National Women's Health and Fitness Day. So, get healthy and fit.
I'm doing yoga after before coffee if anybody wants to join in.
Well, right. I'm absolutely convinced that you were the number one influence for this day being created. And it's National Punctuation Day, question mark. World Dense Breast Day. Dense breasts. If you have dense breasts, it's your day. If you have dense brain, it's not your day.
Dense breast? What is that?
It's probably... I
need to read about this.
Yeah, maybe you can refresh my memory on that one. And it's National Cherries Jubilee Day. Yum. That looks good. I want some Cherries Jubilee. So as your mispronunciation, your haikus, your metaphors, your jokes, your technical glitches, your long, I'm going to call them tangents. There's all your tangents for today. For September 24th, 2025 on Before Cherries Jubilee.
Okay, so I've looked it up, and my understanding is breasts are made out of fat, the glands, which is what, puts the milk out.
Your mammaries. They're called your mammaries, man.
Yes.
Your mammary glands.
Yes, these glands, there can be like 20 of them, there can be 10 of them. If you have a lot of glands, you have
You're dairy.
You're dense. Your breasts are dense, and which means it's harder for you, or I should say you or a doctor, to find out if you have any cancer, because you have so many, right? Because you can, you have them too. Men have glands too. They're not as pronounced.
You have so many spigots.
You can feel your glands when you're giving yourself a mammogram or whatever, those glands, if you have too many of them, it could be hiding the cancer, which is a small P, a hardened P-shaped A, right? As a person with breast, I literally couldn't tell you. I've never had breast cancer, and I could have it, and I wouldn't know. I think I have dense breasts, is what I'm going to say. I'm going to come out with dense breast. I've never counted my glands. I'm going to do that after the show. There are no international days today, and here is my...
They could have called it
metaphor.
Go ahead.
All right. They could have called it what? Do you want to tell a joke?
They could have called it Feel Your Gland Day, but
Feel Your Gland. That count your glands.
Leaves it open to interpretation.
Do you have dense breasts? Go out there and count every single mammary gland you have. My mixed metaphor is Little Rock was sold down the river that broke the camel's back. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Little Rock.
Some racial
Not
equality.
Much progress has
still
been made.
Gotten there, but we're working towards it, and that's what matters.
Arkansas is still the same place. Still the same backwards, stupid people. Sorry. Nothing, no progress. That goes for all the South. Almost all the South.
Reminder that Roger's from Wisconsin,
Yeah, and I've been to the South, so don't tell me I'm ignorant of it, because I've been there, and I've seen how people live. Not good. Not good.
Okay, let's go ahead and end the show.
America should not be full of shanty towns. It shouldn't be full of shanty towns, but it is. It's full of shanty towns.
And fuck Philadelphia.
People with no money,
I don't know.
no
That's
income. Right. Okay, that's it. I'm done.
This has been Alison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the U.S. as we tie off another Wacky and Weird Wednesday. Hope you learned a lot of things about how time reveals maybe possible realities. Artists can also fly planes, and of course, we can find crazy solutions to our problems in the weirdest kind of ways, like cardboard flies. We'll see you tomorrow for Thursdays 13, in which we will have a list of 13 things. What is on that list? I don't know yet. That's the fun of it. So make sure you're following or subscribed and have those notifications on so you're still live for Thursdays 13.
The world's only international game show.
And make sure if you would like to support us, you can support us on Patreon. Or you've got as little as $1 you can support our show, as well as like and share this video. You know about Before Coffee. Yeah. World's only international game. And let's go to our mic drop.
We'll sell that. We'll sell that to people for now.
His own display team. They dropped into
Newman and his I don't know if this is the specific time where he was blamed for the crash or this is just him being there. But this is the same airplane.
I don't know either. No, this is about the air shows he's doing.
Yeah.
The Harvard formation team. Of course, we're going to play his music at the start, so it's going to get a copyright hit.
Well, look at him in that white suit.
Now a rock millionaire, still touring and still making records.
But that doesn't mean he hasn't stopped living his life.
The course, and that has surprised some of his critics, not so much because of his music,
can barely hear
what
it.
he does in his spare time. Newman's flying exploits hit the headlines 5 years ago when his plane.
Oh yeah, here's the event that they're talking about where he was blamed for the crash, even though he wasn't involved in the crash.
Oh, okay.
He was just in the plane.
Him as a kamikaze pilot with more money than sense. In fact, the crash was caused by
he was the passenger on that plane.
Yeah, that's what they said. Like, in fact, he wasn't even flying. But that's tabloids for you. They just like making lies because the more sensational, the more exciting the story.
Now he's flying for one of the.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and blame old Fox guy, Rupert
he's
Murdoch.
Got a freaking Japan plane.
And that painful
the Cessna is famously a Japanese. If I remember correctly.
No, it's not a Japanese plane. Nope.
Oh, it isn't?
Definitely not a Japanese plane. No, I was in my story. He painted it that way.
Oh, he loves Japan. He's a weeb. I see.
That did annoy me very much. You know, I was just sitting.
No idea why he painted it that way. Just
because he's a weeb. Don't worry about it.
We've landed on the motorway, and I've never been able to live it down.
It's definitely not a Japanese Zero. Those are not made by Cessna.
Most people who fly airplanes don't come from rock groups.
No, I'm the only one in the world that does display flying ever. I don't know. I was first got into it, display flying, that there was a certain amount of, not resentment, nothing like that everyone was very friendly. But,
there's all kinds of rock groups. Remember the original member of Soundgarden joined the army, of all things.
Where I come from, because I'm supposed to be drunk and drug crazy. All sorts of other things.
Forgot his name.
And so I can understand it, but they were helpful and good to me, although they were a little bit...
Well, it's a good thing that they're very welcoming.
How do you manage to get the time to do this? Your working
the people with this kind of hobby are usually not starstruck.
Yeah,
they have better shit
to
do.
Yeah, you're one of a kind.
It is a little difficult, especially
this
year, because I'm touring this year, and there's about 3 or 4 displays on when a tour is on.
Oh, cool, you're a famous musician? That's nice. I'm here to fly a plane and not crash into the ground. That's what we're going to focus on today.
Nirvana.
Get to the gig to go on and do this show.
Before their practice, the team gets a careful briefing from leader Anthony Hutton.
Very important.
How do they feel about having a rock star in their midst?
Jason Everman, who was a bassist in Soundgarden and played guitar for Nirvana, joined the army later because he didn't want to be in a rock band anymore. There you go.
Enthusiasm for the airplane itself, and he's a great team member.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he's a rock star, but he can fly the plane, so no. I'm happy he's here because we needed another member in our flight team.
Well, it was his hobby, man. It's something he couldn't get out of his system until he saw his friends die in crashes because these are not
people from this team.
Right. They probably do their own maintenance on their planes. I mean, the mechanics for these things are long dead. The people
look how close they are to each other, you know?
But I wouldn't hate to give up either one, and I wouldn't want to give up the flying.
That's why people go to air shows. They want to, I don't know if they want to see a crash, but they just want to see the potential for a crash, right? Well, that's what air shows are.
Really
dangerous maneuvers in air. Air shows were the most popular thing in the United States in the 20s. They were like, you would go to the fair and there would be an air show at every fair. They didn't have jets either, so it was all aerobatics. People
That's
walking
so
on
crazy,
wings and
like
stuff.
that they can keep themselves in a
Wing
line like
walkers.
that.
Wing walkers were a thing in the 20s. Like, as soon as we got in the air, they started doing things dangerous with planes.
Oh, look at this. This maneuver.
Phillips
Very
Aviation.
cool.
Phillips Aviation with their big old sign on the side, right? And every one of those. Free ad for Phillips.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old